Returning home for the summer was never supposed to be complicated. Just sun, the scent of cut grass, and Mom's terrible iced tea. But the moment I stepped into that house, it was like stepping back into a skin that didn't quite fit anymore. "You're late," my brother, Logan, muttered when I dragged my suitcase through the door. "Flight was delayed," I answered, setting my bag down and looking him over. He hadn't changed. Still tall, broad-shouldered, tan from hours under the sun. His t-shirt clung to his chest like it owed him rent. His jeans hung low on his hips, tool belt slung lazily off one side. Logan worked construction, fixing other people's houses like he couldn't fix anything inside our own. "Room's still yours," he added, heading back outside without looking at me. "Don't touch my stuff." It was always like that with Logan, gruff, direct, barely civil. But somehow, underneath that blunt surface, there was always something I couldn't look away from. Something that made my heart speed up in ways it shouldn't. I dropped my bag in my room, then flopped onto the bed, staring up at the ceiling fan spinning slow and lazy. After a while, I got up to grab a charger I knew I'd left in Logan's room last Christmas. His door was cracked open. I pushed gently. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Faint sweat, sawdust, and something masculine I could never name but always noticed. Logan was sprawled on the bed, one arm behind his head, the other resting on his bare chest. His tank top had ridden up, exposing hard abs and the edge of the tattoo that wrapped around his hip. But it wasn't just the tattoo that caught my eye. His jeans were open, unzipped, boxer briefs halfway down his thighs, and his cock, thick, heavy, unapologetically hard, rested against his thigh like it belonged there, like it was waiting to be seen. I froze. Every nerve in my body went tight. My mouth went dry, heart thudding in my ears like a warning siren. I should have backed out, closed the door, looked away. But I didn't. Instead, I stared. He shifted slightly in his sleep, a soft grunt escaping his lips. His fingers twitched. His chest rose and fell, steady, unbothered, blissfully unaware. I took a step inside. Quiet. Careful. The room was dim, but the sunlight slipping through the blinds traced his muscles with a golden edge. His biceps. His sharp jaw. His parted lips. Every inch of him was carved like desire itself. This was wrong. This was so wrong. But my body didn't care. My skin was hot, my jeans suddenly tight. I bit my lip, pulse racing, heart begging me to run, yet feet rooted to the floor. Logan stirred again, and I backed up fast, almost tripping over his boot. I caught myself against the wall, heart slamming. "Shit," I whispered, squeezing my eyes shut. I needed to leave. I needed to forget this ever happened. I turned and bolted, shutting his door behind me just as his breathing shifted. Back in my room, I collapsed onto the bed, hands in my hair, dragging in deep breath. My head was a storm. Of shame, lust, regret, want. The worst part wasn't seeing him like that. It was how badly I wanted to see it again. Later that night, I found myself avoiding him like a coward. Dinner passed in awkward silence, Mom chatting endlessly about garden mulch while Logan and I barely made eye contact. I couldn't look at him without seeing it again, every detail etched into my brain. He stretched at one point, arms raised above his head, t-shirt riding high, revealing a sliver of golden skin. I choked on my drink. "You good?" Logan asked, glancing at me with a flicker of something, concern? Amusement? "Yeah," I said too quickly. "Fine." He held my gaze for half a second longer than necessary, then smirked and went back to eating. That smirk stayed with me all night. It didn't feel real. Not just what I saw, but the way it made me feel. I'd crushed on guys before, hooked up with a few. I was out. Open. Honest. But never about this. Never about him. Logan was straight. Logan was off limits. Logan was my older brother. And yet, the memory of his exposed body haunted me. The lazy way he lay there, unguarded. Like he didn't care who saw. Like he wanted someone to. Or maybe I just wanted it too badly, twisting the moment into something it wasn't. But as I lay there in the dark, the image of him still burned behind my eyelids. And for the first time in years, I touched myself to the thought of someone I should never want. Logan. 4 days, I avoided Logan like his body was fire and I'd already been burned once. But this house was too small, and he was too present, shirtless in the kitchen, sweaty in the yard, leaving his scent in the hallway like a breadcrumb trail I couldn't stop following. And then there was her. Sierra. She came over that Thursday like she owned the place, smelling of perfume and vanilla-scented confidence. Tight crop top, painted nails, kisses for Logan that landed a little too performative. I watched her from the doorway, arms crossed, half amused, half jealous, and fully ashamed of it. She looked at me over her shoulder. "You're the little brother, right, Evan?" "Unfortunately," I muttered, pushing past her into the kitchen. She smirked, sizing me up. "You don't look related." I shrugged. "Maybe that's a good thing." Logan chuckled behind her, wrapping his arm around her waist. "Don't start, Ev. Be nice." I hated how his voice changed around her, softer, but dumber. Like she rewired his brain with every swing of her hip. That night, I watched them from across the bonfire in our backyard. Sierra sat in Logan's lap, laughing too loud, drinking too fast. Logan was buzzed, hands on her thighs, lips at her neck. It made me sick. Not because of what they were doing, but because I wished it was me in his lap. And I hated myself for it. Halfway through the night, I caught her slipping away with a guy I didn't know, tall, tattooed, cocky. They disappeared into the woods behind the property like it was scripted. I followed, curiosity or jealousy driving me, I'm not sure which. I found them kissing. Hard. Like Logan didn't exist. Like I was watching a secret unfold that no one had asked me to keep. I stood there for too long. Long enough to hate her. Long enough to hate myself for what I was about to do with that information. But I didn't tell him. Not the next day when he made her breakfast. Not when she left her panties in the bathroom like a trophy. Not when Logan asked if I thought she was the real thing. I just looked him in the eyes and said, "You deserve better." He raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you care who I fuck?" "Since she started acting like your girlfriend and treating you like a backup plan." Logan stared at me, tense. Then he relaxed, letting out a bitter laugh. "Women are complicated, man. You have no idea," I whispered under my breath. It happened that weekend. Logan was in the garage, shirtless, glistening with sweat, working under the hood of a rusted-out Chevy. I leaned on the doorframe, watching him without meaning to. His back muscles flexed with every turn of the wrench. Grease smeared across his abs. His jeans hung dangerously low. He didn't look up. Just said, "Something on your mind, Evan?" I hesitated. "You always this messy?" He glanced over his shoulder. "You always this nosy?" I stepped closer, drawn by gravity or insanity. "You always leave your door half open?" Now he looked at me. Straight on. Eyes sharp, like he knew exactly what I was referring to, or maybe he was bluffing. Maybe I was the only one dragging meaning out of nothing. "What did you see, Ev?" he asked quietly. I swallowed hard. Enough. A beat of silence passed. Logan wiped his hands on a rag, set down the wrench, and stepped closer. We were inches apart. I could feel the heat coming off his skin. See the muscle in his jaw tighten. "You shouldn't come in without knocking," he said. "You shouldn't sleep with your dick out," I replied. He didn't laugh. He didn't smile. He just looked at me, deep, unreadable. "Is that what this is?" he asked, voice low. "You mad because you saw something you liked?" I didn't answer. He stepped closer. "You think I don't notice the way you look at me?" he continued. "Like you're starving?" I flinched. "And if I am?" That hung in the air like a sin no one wanted to say out loud. Logan stared, then shook his head and stepped back. "This is fucked, Evan." "Yeah," I said. "It is." He turned away, muscles tense, breath shaky. I left before I could say anything else I'd regret. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words. The way he looked at me. The way he didn't say no. The tension between us wasn't imagined. It was real. Dangerous. Alive. Something was building, slow and steady, like a fuse waiting for the spark. I stared at the ceiling, trying not to touch myself to the image of my own brother leaning in close, sweat glistening on his chest. But I failed. And as I came, biting my lip, the name I whispered into the dark was his. It started with a storm. The kind that rattles the windows and makes the air thick with something unspeakable. Logan had come home soaked from the rain, shirt clinging to his chest, hair wild. He looked wrecked, angry, tired, like the world had pressed him down and left him gasping. "Where's Sierra?" I asked. He kicked off his boots, didn't look at me. "Gone. Said she needed space. After you made her breakfast and played house all week?" He glared. "Drop it, Evan." But I didn't. I couldn't. You deserve someone who wants you, not just someone who wants a placeholder until her next thrill ride. He didn't speak. Just stood there dripping, fists clenched. "You know she cheated on you, right?" I added. His head snapped up. "What?" "In the woods. At the party. I saw her. With some guy." "You saw and didn't tell me?" "I didn't know how." He exhaled like I'd knocked the wind out of him. "You let me look like a fucking idiot." "No," I said, stepping closer. "I let you believe something safe. Something you wanted to believe." Logan paced, rainwater still trailing behind him. "She said I wasn't enough. That I didn't give her what she needed." I laughed bitterly. "She's a narcissist, not a prophet." He looked at me. Really looked. Like he was seeing past every layer I'd tried to hide under sarcasm and silence. "You ever feel like you're just too much for some people and not enough for others?" he asked. "All the time," I replied. "But not with you." The silence between us deepened. Dense. Electric. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked, voice lower now. "Because I'm in love with you," I said. No hesitation. No shame. Just truth. Logan didn't move. He didn't laugh. He didn't look disgusted. He stepped closer. And closer. Until the heat of him was all I could feel. "You're my brother," he whispered, like it was a warning. "And you kissed me back," I whispered, like it was a fact. He grabbed my face, sudden and hard. His lips crashed into mine like punishment and confession all at once. It was messy, furious, addictive. Clothes came off without thought, without logic. Just need. We stumbled into his bedroom. Onto the bed where Sierra had once curled herself into him, but tonight, this time, it was me. I kissed down his chest, tasted the sweat of his regret, the salt of his fear. He grabbed my hair, pulled my face up to his, breathing hard. "This is wrong," he said. I kissed him again. "Then don't stop." And he didn't. Not for hours. After, he lay beside me, silent, staring at the ceiling. His chest rose and fell in a rhythm I knew I'd memorize. My fingers traced the lines of his torso, the way a thief handles stolen treasure. "You regret it?" I asked. He turned his head, eyes unreadable. "I regret needing it. That hurt. But I didn't flinch. I don't." "You've always wanted this?" I nodded. "Since you let me move in. Since I realized no one else made me feel seen the way you do." He swallowed hard. "I'm not gay. I didn't say you were. I said you want me." He didn't answer that. Just pulled me closer like a man holding onto a life raft. The next day, the house was quieter than usual. We didn't talk about what happened. We didn't kiss. We didn't even sit in the same room. But I could feel him watching me. When I walked past. When I brushed against him in the hallway. His gaze burned. That night, I heard his door creak open. Light footstep. He slid into bed behind me, wordless, wrapped an arm around my waist like it was the only thing that made sense. "I'm scared," he murmured into my neck. "I know. But I can't stop." I turned in his arms, looked at him in the dark. "Then don't." Our lips met again. This time slower. Not desperation, intimacy. I'd never been held like that. Not by anyone. It wasn't just sex anymore. It was surrender. But even then, I knew it couldn't last. He was still tangled in Sierra's world. Still lying to himself in daylight and only telling the truth in the dark. And I was the truth he couldn't say out loud. So, I held him tighter. Just for tonight. Because love like this burns bright and fast. And I didn't know when he'd choose to blow out the flame. Logan didn't speak to me the next morning. He moved through the kitchen like a ghost, avoiding eye contact, pouring his coffee like nothing had happened. I watched from the doorway, silent, waiting for a sign. A glance. A word. Anything. But all I got was his back. "What now?" I finally asked. He stiffened, mug halfway to his lips. "Nothing. It was a mistake." There it was, cold and clean like a blade. I nodded slowly. "Right. Just heat of the moment. Comfort fuck. Don't," he turned, jaw clenched. "Don't make it more than it was." It was more. His eyes flared, but he didn't argue. That hurt more than any denial could have. We didn't speak the rest of the day. I holed up in my room, trying to erase the memory of his body over mine, of the way he moaned into my mouth, the way he held me like I was something he needed. But some things don't fade. Not when they're carved into your skin. 2 days later, she came back, Alyssa, his girlfriend. She strolled into the house like nothing had changed, her laugh echoing off the walls, perfume trailing in like smoke. Logan let her in, sat with her on the porch, talked in hushed tones while I watched from the upstairs window. She kissed him before she left, and he kissed her back. That night, he knocked on my door again. I didn't answer. The knob turned anyway. He stepped inside, quiet, cautious. I was already in bed, pretending to sleep. "I'm not good at this," he said into the dark. "I don't know how to be what you need." I didn't move. I messed up. That night. I wanted something real. But I can't give it to you. Not the way you deserve. I sat up, sheets tangled around my waist. "Then why are you here?" He didn't answer right away. Just stood there in the moonlight, shirtless, lost. "Because I still think about it," he said finally. "Every night." I could have reached for him. I could have said, "Stay." But what was the point? He wasn't mine. Not really. "Go back to her," I said. "At least she lets you lie to yourself." Logan flinched. His fists clenched, but he didn't argue. He just turned and walked out again, quieter this time. I left the next morning. Packed my bag before sunrise, shoved guilt and longing between pairs of jeans, and tucked it under layers of fake calm. I didn't say goodbye. Just scribbled a note for Mom and slipped out the front door. As I loaded my suitcase into the trunk, I heard footsteps on gravel. Logan stood in the driveway, barefoot, shirtless, still half asleep. He looked like a painting of someone I used to love. "You're leaving early," he said, voice rough. "Yeah. Can't sleep here." He rubbed the back of his neck. "You hate goodbyes." "I hate pretending." He stepped closer. Hesitated. I was wrong. About what I said. I met his gaze. "Which part?" He looked down. "About it being a mistake." The words hung between us like breath in winter. I swallowed. "Then why let me go?" He stepped even closer. Close enough to touch, but didn't. "Because I don't know how to stay." For the first time, his voice cracked. And it broke something in me too. We hugged. No kiss. No promises. Just a long, silent embrace that said everything we couldn't. When he finally let go, I got into the car. "Take care, Liam," he said. I looked at him one last time. "You too." As I drove away, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. I just remembered how he felt. And I knew I'd never forget.